parties, but we've had this other very big announcement today on new restrictions on our lives to stem the spread of Omicron. Just to be absolutely clear, Labour must welcome that the Prime Minister has moved fast on Plan B.
Well, we don't welcome the fact that we've got new restrictions. We want to see things opening up, and we want to see people be able to live their lives normally. But we've been saying since early summer that the Prime Minister, as part of Plan A, ought to adopt guidelines about more mask wearing in crowded spaces. We've been really concerned about rising COVID rates throughout the summer and over autumn as well. We've been calling on Nadhim Zahawi to take seriously the fact that we've got some of the worst ventilated buildings in Europe, and that's one of the major issues for schools as the temperatures drop and they can't keep doors and windows open. So we'll support the package of measures that the government's brought forward.
Including working from home, because there'll be a significant economic cost there.
Well, we've been saying for some considerable time now that there ought to be flexibility for people to be able to work from home when they can. When you listen to the Prime Minister...
This is more or less mandatory, though.
But when you listen to the Prime Minister, you often get the impression that somehow people are just able to make all these choices themselves. And in fact, people aren't in many workplaces around the country. They're told that they have to go into work. So unless the government acts and says, no, we want people working from home, many people just simply don't have the right to exercise that choice. I'm glad that they've finally woken up and done something, but this has been a long time coming, and as always with this government, just been so slow to get a grip on it.
Now, it wasn't that long ago that you had reservations about vaccine passports. You said you thought they were discriminatory. You've changed your mind?
I've got reservations about whether you want to force people to prove their vaccination status.
Which you are, effectively. If you're saying they can only go to football or to entertainment, you are basically doing that.
Yeah, although football and entertainment, these are not sort of fundamental human rights. These are things that all of us like to do. I'm hoping to go to the football this Saturday. But you've got a duty to keep other people safe as well. One of the things we've said to the government many times is it's fine to ask people to prove that they've had the vaccine as long as you give them an option. For some people, particularly as the vaccine was being rolled out when people didn't have access to it, we were particularly concerned that you could also show evidence of a negative lateral flow test in order to get into a venue. So some level of flexibility, but making sure that people keep safe. I think it's a balance to be struck, but I think that balance is broadly right.
And very briefly before we go to the break, and there'll be tons of you after the break, you'll have seen the reports from people working in the NHS about the number of unvaccinated people taking up valuable space in intensive care. Obviously, they've got to be looked after. But they were arguing there's a case now for mandatory vaccination.
I think we're inclined to agree with that the case for mandatory vaccination for NHS staff.
This is not just NHS staff.
Clearer.
No. They were saying mandatory vaccination, across the board, simply because, all the evidence shows the risk of severe illness is much higher if you haven't been vaccinated.
Look, I want to be absolutely clear with people. Go and get vaccinated. There are people right around the world who are desperate for the vaccine who can't get access.
But you're not
to
ready to say everybody should be compelled to have a vaccination.
It is the responsible thing to do. But if you look at the people who aren't currently being vaccinated, it's often people from minority ethnic backgrounds who have been sent ridiculous things that are being pumped around the internet about myths and lies about what the vaccine can do to you. I think we should clamp down on the anti-vaxxers. I think we should really go after those people hard because they are deeply irresponsible. And, I went to my local park the other day. They'd plastered the park with absolute rubbish about what the vaccine can do to you. I think we should go hard after them and we should support everyone else in order to get it.
OK, well, some would say there's also a freedom of speech issue there. It's all incredibly important and gripping. Now, don't go away. Much more from Lisa Nandy, Annie D from David Davis and Dawn Butler in just a couple of minutes.